Thank you, Ms. Guidry, and Black business owners. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon with everybody, and thanks for inviting me. And we always talk about the importance of voting, but it's important also that we have an informed electorate so they can make informed decisions. And you're doing a great service to this community by providing this forum and this opportunity to educate and introduce ourselves. And just let me start by saying, I was born and raised right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I grew up on Jackson Street, one block north of the Southern Pacific Railroad, in between what is now the Shattuck Street overpass and the Enterprise Boulevard overpass. And they call that, some people call it North Lake Charles. Other people call it Gosport. I call it home, because it is my home. That's where I was born and raised and grew up with my 5 siblings in a small green house with 1 bathroom back in the late 50s, early 60s. I'm a product of the public school system here in Lake Charles. I graduated from Lake Charles High School in 1972. After that, I went to Prairie View A&M. My twin brother went to Southern University. I'm glad I went to a HBCU, and I'm proud to have gone to a SWAC school. Sorry about that for those who did not. But it was a very meaningful experience. And one thing about the HBCUs, they're dedicated to their students, and they're going to make sure that they get what they need financially and educationally. And it was a wonderful experience. I met a lot of people from a lot of different places. We still maintain those friendships even today. After graduating from Prairie View in '76 with honors, I then went to Lewis and Clark Law School in Portland, Oregon. It's a long story how I got to Portland, but after my high school graduation, I spent the summer in the mountains of New Mexico, so I fell in love with the mountains. I was at Philmont Scout Ranch. I'm an Eagle Scout. Fell in love with the mountains, and then I saw a poster of Lewis and Clark Law School nestled in the bosom of Mount Hood. So a big tall mountain, a snow-capped mountain. So I said, that's where I'm going. I want to go somewhere where I'm away from everybody that could cause me any distractions. And I certainly accomplished that, because when I got to Portland, I was 2,300 miles away from anybody I knew. I didn't know anybody within 2,300 miles of Portland, Oregon. That was a good decision, and it was a good time. My route there, or getting there, was a little adventurous. By the time I got there, I had my Volkswagen broke down in San Antonio, but I got there with a backpack, a duffel bag, and a box wrapped in duct tape. So that's how I hit Portland, Oregon. And I loved Portland, had a great experience there. Graduated in 1980. I was the only African American in my graduating class. 4 of us started. I'm the only one that made it through. And I attribute that to my education at public education right here in Calgary Parish, as well as Prairie View A&M University. I then came home. I was glad that I've gone to Portland. And I thought about staying, but I decided to come home to share my experiences, my education, my compassion, and my talent with home folks. I think it's important that we always keep home close to us, even if we're not physically present. Home is in the heart, and we should always do what we can to help the home community, because that's where we came from. That's where we grew up. And Lake Charles, I don't consider myself a celebrity. I consider myself a product. It takes a village, and that's what happened. I had an idyllic childhood, came back home. Not long after coming back home, I made another good decision. I married my wife, and I've been married for 38 years. We have 2 adult children. But I began my legal career in the district attorney's office. I was a misdemeanor prosecutor. They were grooming me to become a felony prosecutor. But I think it's important then. I was the 3rd African American prosecutor at that time, behind Judge Thibodeau and the late Judge Gray. I followed them into the district attorney's office, stayed there for 4.5 years, made a lot of friends, and tried to do as much good as I could from the inside. So it's important that we have people on the inside who care about those on the outside. I enjoy that work, and it's a necessary job, occupation. So, it has its place. But in late 1985, I was approached by a group of people to open up the public defender's office, a staff public defender's office. They had it by contract. They were doing indigent defense work by contract at that time. But it was determined and well thought out and reasoned that the services could be better delivered by a staff attorney, staff of public defenders, staff attorneys. So I was approached with the job. Late 1985, I just moved to Moss Bluff and bought a house out there. Richard Ayub was a district attorney then, and I said, well, Mr. Ayub, I think I'm going to take off and go to the public defender's office. And he says, Ron, don't do that. That place may not last 6 months or a year. You're taking a chance. You just bought a house. He says, look, we're going to start moving you up into the felony rotation and give you a raise. He said, what do you think about that? What do you say? I said, bye. I went to the public defender's office because that job was better suited for my personality. I told people a long time ago I didn't go to law school to put people in jail, even though that has its place. I have nothing bad to say about that. But I enjoyed my time in the public defender's office. I spent a total of 26 years there as a staff attorney. I tried over 100 felony jury trials. I gained a lot of experience, intuition, insight, and I met a lot of people and learned a lot. And after I got there, one of the things that just kind of, troubled me or I noticed, and it was something unique, and it was that that was a strange phenomenon that sometimes I noticed that when people were looking at other people, they didn't see them. They'd look right through them, and as if they were invisible, because they didn't have anything in common with those people, couldn't reach them, and in some instances didn't care about them. So I noticed that. When I thought about it over the years, I recall that same thing happened to me throughout my life as a child here in Lake Charles. When I went to Lake Charles High School in 1968, 69, that was the first years of integration. So I had that experience, and I didn't really realize until I got to the public defender's office that that is what was happening. So of course that affected me, and it's just as if these individuals were invisible. Ralph Ellison wrote about that many years ago in 1952 when he wrote The Invisible Man. John Williams talked about that in his book, The Man Who Cried I Am. So those books influenced me, molded me, and I still think about those things from time to time, and I incorporate that into my experience and my approach to people. And I've developed a sense where I can see other people, or see people where others couldn't. And I've defended people and was proud to defend them when others wouldn't. So I did that in the public defender's office for a total of 23 years. I spent 1 year in private practice with Mr. Cliff Newman. And while there, I had a lot of people come to see me and ask me to help them, and I did. And they promised payment. A lot of times it didn't happen. So I did make some money. I picked up some civil experience, but it wasn't fair to Mr. Newman in his office. And he says, Ron, we got to do something about that. I said, well, I know, Cliff. He said, we got to sue him. I said, oh, no. I'm not suing anybody under those circumstances. I think I'm going to go back to the public defender's office. So I did that, with a good spirit, a good heart, and good experience. And I became the director in 2000. And during my time at the public defender's office, I tried many complex cases. I was on the front lines. I was in the trenches fighting the early 90s and 2000 mass incarceration. I was on the front line trying to hold back the tide. I think I was pretty effective, and people tell me over the years, they said, Ron, we're glad you were there. I had to hold hands with grandmothers and grandfathers and wives and other family members and walk them through that trying process and experience. And that kind of work is not for everybody. We had some come and we had many leave because it's a difficult job. But I felt comfortable doing that, and I didn't stress out. I didn't go home and kick the dog or fuss at my wife when I got home. I just went home and enjoyed my home life. Went back to work the next morning, fired up, ready to go. And that's what I did for many years. And I tried complicated cases. I've tried death penalty cases. I've been through a 3-week death penalty jury selection in Baton Rouge. I was involved in the Wilbert Rito case. I was co-counsel with Mr. Johnny Cochran and Mr. George Kendall from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and Mr. Julian Murray, a super defense lawyer from New Orleans. I learned a lot. We met in the evenings and we worked quite a bit. Even Vanita Gupta, who now is a commentator on various legal shows, MSNBC, I see her all the time. I said, that's Vanita, she's on the show again. She's a very accomplished attorney now. It was hard work, we were successful in seeking the release of Mr. Brito. And so it was a very unique experience. And I got to meet some people along the way. I learned a lot of lessons during that experience. And that is just the resilience and the human spirit yearning for freedom. Mr. Rito was a very determined man, very bright man. And my dad used to say, in a weird way, Wilbert probably benefited by going to prison more than he would if he'd stayed on the streets of Lake Charles in the 60s. He's self-educated, and now he's an accomplished lecturer and a successful person. After the public defender's office, I ran for judge in 2008. I was successful. That was 12 years ago. 12 years ago today, I was campaigning for a district court seat, and I won. And I ran because while practicing and advocating and protecting the rights and the freedom of poor people. When I say poor people, I'm talking about people who did not have any money, who did not have any hope because they thought they didn't have a chance. They were the voiceless. They were the maligned. They were disempowered. They were afraid. But I didn't have any money to give them, so I gave them hope because I gave them a chance. And again, people have stopped me on the street thousands of times and thanked me for what I've done so long ago. I've helped so many people in so many different ways for so long that I can't even remember half of them. My children, when they were younger, would hate to go to the store with me because people would stop me and want to talk. But that was a real good experience, and it's something that, again, shaped and molded my life and made me a better person. And in 2008, I was elected district court judge. And I remember the night of the runoff election. It was in November 2008. And the next morning, the Lake Charles American Press on its front page had the picture of several individuals. One of them was President Barack Hussein Obama at the top. And at the bottom was a picture of Ron Ware, newly elected district court judge. The image of that page is seared in my memory. And my mom is still alive. She's 93. My dad passed away in 2015. He's at 90, but he was alive at the time. And it was just a unique and special moment to be so honored by the people of Calcasieu Parish and to have my parents with me to enjoy that as well. As a judge, I've enjoyed being on the bench. I've tried to mentor younger lawyers, and I take my job seriously. And I listen intently, and I give careful consideration to everything or every case that comes before me. And I listen to every word that's coming from that podium, from the lawyers and their clients, and every word that comes from that witness stands, from the witness. I'm looking in the audience. I can see family members and friends, victims and otherwise. And it's just an incredible experience. And it's a daunting task because I realize that every time I walk into that courtroom or even walk out my front door, I'm under everybody's microscope. So I have to be on my best behavior. That's not a problem. I tend to have no problem with that. My brother-in-law used to say, "Man, I tried to act right, but it didn't work." But I don't have that problem. But I've enjoyed my time on the bench, and I've again tried major cases, and I'm a stand-up guy. call as I see it. I try to be fair and honest. I think I have a long history, a long record of service before becoming even before becoming a lawyer. Just community activities throughout the years, scouting, and just going through that evolutionary process of school integration. We had some moments then that I remember well. We survived and we learned. I never considered myself a victim. I've always considered myself a victor. And I never was, didn't consider myself a loser or bitter. That experience made me better. It still endears in my heart now, those things that happened when I was a young person. So I've started the program in the court, a specialty court called the Reentry Court Program. It's designed to cut this recidivism rate, this vicious cycle in and out of prison for each individual that's in the program, and for generational recidivism, because these kids, they see this happening over and over and over again. They think it's a normal thing, and they become insensitive to it. It desensitizes them to it's no big deal. I can handle this jail experience because my uncle did, my brother did, my father did. But that is, that's not the way life is designed to be lived. We need more opportunity. I'm glad to have you all here providing opportunity for African American community. We need this so dearly. You serve a great purpose, service, role in our community. We thank you for that. And I've enjoyed my time on the bench, and now I seek to serve more people than before on a high level on Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Many people have asked me, said, why don't you stay? We really want you and we need you here, but I can do more for more on a higher level in a different place. And that's why, one of the reasons I'm seeking to go where I'm going. And I'm fired up, ready to go. My backers are energetic. That makes one heck of a difference. They're ready to go. We had an announcement last Wednesday on the courthouse steps, and I chose the courthouse steps because I pointed to that building behind me, that big white building. I said, I spent my last 40 years right here defending the rights of people and protecting their interests. So that's why I chose the courthouse steps. And now that brings me here today to visit with you all. And again, thank you for having me here.
Judge Ware, I do have one question for you. How would you answer the age question that seems to be an issue for some regarding you going to the Third Circuit as opposed to Judge Wilson?
Okay. I turned 66, July 27th. I'm proud of that. With age brings wisdom and experience, so I don't hide from that. But as far as how it affects my ability to serve or the length of service on the Third Circuit, it's a red herring. It's what we know in the law as something that's thrown out to distract folks and keep your eye off of the real issues. The rule is, and it's not complicated, the rule is if you're elected for a judicial office while you're under the age of 70, you get to stay the entire term regardless of the length of the term. You could run, the length of the term is 10 years. I am not 70 years old. If I'm fortunate enough to win in November, I can stay till I'm 76 years old. That's my intention, and that's my commitment to the people. And don't let anybody hand you a bag of goods about that, where I can't serve but 4 years. That's not true. Simply not true. It's not complicated. Anybody could run one day before they turn 70. And then they get to run and they get to stay for the 14 years.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
Mr. Ware, thank you for being here, taking time out of your schedule to be able to be here with us on today and share your message with not only us that are here in the room, but the viewers that are out there viewing us live on Facebook.
Thank you.
I I do want to thank you for your years of service to the community. Back in 2005, I moved into the old Charleston.
Right.
Started my business there. And one thing that I did notice was Mr. Ware was already in the building.
That's right.
And his car was always there later than me because I was just starting the business out. But he was there serving the needs of those that most folks may have forgotten about. Those who didn't have the money for a lawyer and getting people to do it. I know you had your challenges with it. Yeah. Could you tell us all your years of service to this community? How has it put you in a position to move up to the appeals court? The years of experience, because you watched from the 80s all the way up to now and seen the changes in our community. Right. How we got 2 judgeships and it's continued to grow from there. Speak on that.
That experience has groomed me. And, you know, I know that the length of service is one thing, and it's important. But more important than that is the quality of service. And I score high on both of those counts. And I'm not the greatest self-promoter, but I will take credit for that because it's just the truth. And you can ask people throughout this community, do you know Ron Ware? Most people say, yeah, I know he helped me. He helped my cousin. He helped my brother. I could always call him. Back in the day and up to this day, when people had issues, they would say, call Ron Ware when I was a lawyer. Now they say, call Judge Ware. And I've reached out to them every chance I could and did whatever I could for them. And Mr. Fondell, that has shaped and molded me and motivated me. And, I don't need, when you do something for somebody and you expect something in return, then you're not doing it for that person. You're doing it for yourself. That's not me. And, it's not about I, mine, and me. It's about us, ours, and we. Community. I think we all have a moral obligation to do our best to make this a better place for all of us. I'm not out trying to set records and make history. I'm just talking about public service. I'm not in it for the personal gratification. Public service. That's been my calling. And Mr. Fondell, those things have helped me and again, motivated me. And I want to take these skills and things on a higher level so I can share it with a greater number of people over a greater geographical area. It's all about community and sharing.
I'll say this as a follow-up. Mr. Ware, I knew your father.
Yeah.
Dennis Ware. And a lot of us in here are fortunate enough to be part of a legacy where those that came before us did. And it gave us a charge to do something in our communities and commit ourselves to staying here. So I applaud you for that on your journey as you move forward.
Okay, may I say one thing about my dad, because he was such a huge figure. And he cast a long shadow over a lot of people, places, and things in this community and other communities. And I've heard recently that, Ron's dad's not here anymore, so you can't help him anymore. Well, that is so far from the truth. That's light years away from the truth. As long as you can still see someone's face that has passed in your mind's eye, you can still hear their words and their voice ringing in your ears, and you can still remember their good works. They're still here. They're still with us. And that's true now, and that will never change as long as those conditions exist. He has helped me, and he was so far out in front of the community. The man probably had about an IQ of 160. And people have told me, said, your dad meant so much to so many people. And said, Ron, he was out there ahead of his time, but you validated him. So thank you for that comment. That's it. Thank you all very much.